Shabbat Shalom. It's a good day. It feels nice outside. It's cloudy, but it feels good. Thankful for this day. Thankful for this Sabbath. Thankful for the Word. Kind of conversed back and forth with Jason 2 nights ago over the message. Some of the stuff that we've considered. It's not really a message on the end times or apocalypse. Just kind of showing us what we're looking for. I've learned some things in looking into this that go contrary to what we have been taught. I would just like to throw the thought out there that maybe life's just going to continue. And the reason that I say that is because if you look at it, and even the way that I'm interpreting it now, and this is just questions that I have and thoughts that I have, it looks like the Father's going to come first. It looks like the Father's going to come first and then set up the kingdom, and then he'll set up Jerusalem and then set up the Messiah. Is the way that it looks. It looks like the Father is going to destroy the nations. And also the contrariness, and this is what I'm kind of holding on to now, the contrariness between what Jesus said whenever the end times comes. And he says, when you see these things come upon you, flee to the mountains. You don't want to be in the mountains. Yah says that the enemy is going to the mountains. He said the enemy will be in the mountains whenever you read through Zechariah and you read through Ezekiel. He said that he's going to protect Israel and the enemies will be in the mountains. So the way that I interpret that is you don't want to run away from Israel. Another thing that I've been seeing is we will be gathered there. There will be peace there. And then the nations will come. Is what I'm seeing. Then the nations will come and Yah will use them as his tool to do his will. If we had a title for this message today before we get into it, what I put on here was the Father's tools. Okay? I believe firmly everybody has a choice. You have a choice to be in covenant. You have a choice to follow the will of the Father. Or you have a choice to rebel and do whatever you want to. We'll see that in Deuteronomy. He says, I will stand back and see what their end will be. So that means that he does not make you do anything. But nevertheless, he uses people as his tools. He used Moshe. How? To get the people out of Egypt. If you look through the scriptures, it says the Assyrians were his tool. So that's what we're going to be talking about this morning. What are we looking for? This is not an end time prophecy. This is just seeing through scripture how Yah has used man to do his will. Let's all stand. Deuteronomy 32. So this is what he actually gave me from what Jason was teaching last week. And then he ran off with it. So understanding where he gave us this doctrine. So Deuteronomy 32 and 15. But Yeshurun grew fat and kicked. So this is the rebellion. Once you get comfortable, once you get slack, then you stop working. You forget. But Yeshurun grew fat and kicked. You grew fat. You grew thick. You are covered with fat. So he forsook Eloah who made him. So he got comfortable. He stopped seeking. And scorned the rock of his deliverance. They moved him to jealousy with the foreign. With abominations they provoked him. They slaughtered 2 demons, not 2 Eloah. Mighty ones they did not know. New ones who come lately, which your fathers did not reverence. You neglected the rock who brought you forth, and forgot the El who fathered you. And Yah saw and despised because of the provocation of his sons and his daughters. And he said, let me hide my face from them. While I am here and I'm thinking about it, and as he is inspiring us, this is us. I want you to get that. It's no longer, I think about it, and we look back and we say, well, look how Israel rebelled. This is our history, y'all. We are Israel. This is our history. This is us. We are them. I want you to get that, okay? So this is our history. And Yah saw and despised because of the provocation of his sons and daughters. And he said, let me hide my face from them. Let me see what their end is. For they are a perverse nation, children in whom there is no trusting. They made me jealous by what is not El. They provoked me with their worthlessness. But I make them jealous by those who are no people. I provoke them with a foolish nation. For a fire was kindled in my wrath, that's going to be a very key point moving forward, and burns to the bottom of Sheol and consumes the earth and its increase. And the lights of the fire, the foundations of the mountain, I gave evils upon them. I used my arrows upon them. So I'm just going to raise my hands. Yah, Yahuwah Elohim, bless this people. Yah, lead, guide, and direct us. May we know your name, know who you are, and reverence you continually. You are our Elohim, Yah. We are your people. Speak your truth. Baruch Hashem. Hallelujah. So you all may be seated. Moving forward. So we see this. Now, if you read in Romans, it talks about, I will move them to jealousy with a nation who is foolish. That is not what that means here. Because the Gentiles, or what they consider to be the Gentiles coming in now, because what the New Testament teaches is we received what they did not want. That's what the New Testament teaches. We received what they did not want. And they use this verse to prove that. So they are jealous now because we have their Messiah. No, that is not what this means. If you look through history, Yah used foolish people who did not know Yah, who served other mighty ones, to make them jealous, to make them silly. The way that we see that. But I make them jealous by those who are no people. I provoke them with a foolish nation. You see it all through Scripture. People who had no morality. People who had their own gods. He provoked them. Now, let's go back. Deuteronomy 13 and 15. So Yeshurun grew fat and kicked. You grew fat and grew thick. You are covered with fat. So they became slothful. They did not want to work. They did not want to seek. So he forsook Eloah, who made him, and scorned the rock of his deliverance. They moved him to jealousy with the foreign. With abominations they provoked him. They slaughtered two demons, not to Eloah. Now, I want to hit on the slaughtered for a second. In other verses, it talks about they sacrificed. We've told you about a spiritual aspect of the sacrifice, and it's something along the lines of this. A spiritual sacrifice, or a sacrifice, is to offer up something willingly. That's what a sacrifice is. You offer up something willingly. Now, what did Yah say that his sacrifices are? He said, the sacrifices of Yah are a broken heart and a contrite spirit. Of this he will not despise. When we do this, and we have remorse over our sin, then our sacrifices will be accepted. That is what it's all about. The broken, contrite, crushed spirit. I sinned. I'm sorry. Forgive me. That's the sacrifice of Yah. So, in order to do that, you've got to realize that there is a certain sense of self-sacrifice. You might want something that Torah is against. Okay? In the flesh, or your desire, or whatever it is. You have that. Therefore, you have to sacrifice self-desire to Yah. Lean not unto your own understanding. Trust in Yah with all your heart. He will direct your steps. That's what a spiritual sacrifice means. It is about giving up something that you desire, that's your own will, to be subject to someone else's will. That's the sacrifice. A broken and contrite heart is the sacrifice of Yah. You offer yourself in obedience to Yah's doctrine and practices. So what did they do? They gave themselves over to ones who come recently. That's what that newly means. They gave themselves over to those doctrines. They started sacrificing their kids. They started bowing down to images. They gave themselves over to the doctrines and practices of false gods. They slaughtered two demons, not to Eloah. They gave themselves over to that obedience. Mighty ones they did not know, new ones who come lately. They slaughtered 2 demons, mighty ones they did not know, new ones that come lately, that is recently appeared. They weren't before of old. They just came up recently. They recently appeared, newly new gods. Mighty ones they did not know, new ones who come lately, which your fathers did not reverence. You neglected the rock who brought you forth, and forgot the El who fathered you. I'm very thankful this morning that Yah does not change. Okay, so if he does not change, that's something you can trust in. When you go to him the same time over and over, it's the same thing over and over. You know what to expect. He is the rock, he can be trusted. So, and Yah, verse 19, saw and despised because of the provocation of his sons and his daughters. And he said, let me hide my face from them. Let me see what their end is. So, like we talked about, there is choice. Yah does not make you serve him. He wants a people that are genuine, honest, and want to serve willingly. That's Yah. He said, I'm going to step back and see what their end is. I want to see what they're going to do. I want to see if they will trust me. Now notice, Yah is our rock, and what does it say after that? And he said, let me hide my face from them. Let me see what their end is, for they are a generation, perverse generation, children in whom there is no trusting. If you look in other versions, that is faith. Children in whom there is no faith. They have no trusting. There is no fidelity, no faithfulness, no obedience to Yah. So they don't trust in the rock. We talked about that word, I think 2 weeks ago, perverse. That word perverse is tapuka. It is perversity, perverse thing. Fraud. They are a fraudulent people. Froward, to turn. They have changed it. They have transformed it. They have perverted it. Now, I'm going to try to get into the routine instead of saying they. We have transformed it. We have perverted it. We are the ones who replace the mighty one for ones who are not mighty. We have. Remember, this is our history. These are our ancestors. It's no longer that, look what they did. We learn from what our ancestors did. What we should not do. And he said, let me hide my face from them, children in whom there is no trusting. They made me jealous by what is not El. So what have they done? They have perverted it. They have transformed it. They have taken and made El into something that he is not. They have perverted his word. You think from Tanakh to New Testament, they have perverted it. They have transformed it. They have made it something new. They made me jealous by what is not El. Now, what's he going to do? He's going to turn that back on them. He's going to make them jealous by people that are no people. By people that have no morality. That's what he says. They provoked me with their worthlessness, but I make them jealous by those who are no people. We made him jealous by a God who is no God. He makes us jealous by a people who are no people. He used their enemies against them as his tools the whole way through. Every bit of it. I started learning about that more in Judges, and we'll get into Judges chapter 2. How Yah works. How does Yah work? He works through me and you on the good side, on the side of trusting and obedience to help one another, love Yah. We're on this side. But Yah, through people's own self-will, uses them as his tool to do his duties. When I read Psalms 91, I think about it and I scratch my head. What if they absolutely trusted? What if they absolutely trusted? Yah would have protected them. They would have been a nation. I read in Judges, and when you read in Judges chapter 2, you see they go in, it might be Judges 1 also, you see they go in and they do not receive the whole land. The Canaanites stay there. And I'm connecting that with Zechariah chapter 14, and you read the very last verse of Zechariah chapter 14, and what does it say? The Canaanite dwells no more in the land. And I'm like, at that time, the promise will be fulfilled. So, they provoked me with their worthlessness. I make them jealous by those who are no people. I provoke them with a foolish nation. For a fire was kindled in my wrath and burns to the bottom of Sheol and consumes the earth in its increase and lights on fire the foundations of the mountains. I gather evils upon them. I use my arrows upon them. Who? His people. Psalms 91. So you see many times in Jeremiah, and I like how Jason brings that out, about the clouds, or the sun will be darkened. He talks about the burning, how the sun will be darkened because of the clouds from the smoke. Yah uses men to do his will. What I am telling you now is what you should be looking forward to. What will happen? You look through history, and Yah has done the same thing over and over. I started studying about Gog and Magog. So there is in Revelation, it talks about how Gog and Magog are two nations, or a set of nations. But if you actually read in Ezekiel, Magog is a place that Gog comes from. So, throw that out. They twisted and perverted that doctrine too. It's actually Magog, but anyway, Gog and Magog. Magog is the place. Gog is the nation, or the group of nations. But been reading about that, and when you read in Zechariah, Yah is going to do the same thing again. He is going to use the nations to punish rebellion. And then what does he do after that? What does Yah always do? After that they are punished for the rebellion, he destroys that nation. He's going to do it again. This is what you are looking for. You're not looking for some great revelation. I'm telling you that it's going to happen maybe sometime in our lifetime. It might be happening now. But what you are looking for is a war. Yah uses war to punish his people. Babylonians, Assyrians, all through Judges. He set up a king to oppress, and that is not a Christian doctrine. That is not a Christian doctrine. The devil's against you. Yah sets up people to oppress his people. Why? So we will wake up and repent. He uses things that are tangible. He uses things you can see. He uses things you can experience. And he's going to do it again. If you read in Zechariah, I think it's in Zechariah or it's either in Ezekiel 38 and 39. And I just listened to it in repeat until I got it, until I could understand it. There are going to be a group of people in Israel. Then there's going to be the nation that comes against Israel, takes out 2/3 of them. There's going to be 1/3 that is left. Now, I'm trying to connect all that together because it also says in another part that Judah will be with them. Is this the 2/3 that will be taken out and punished, or will this be Judah that is taken out? Because it says Judah will be with them, then Judah will have a thought of mind to turn and destroy them. So you got to make all the connections. What I'm trying to give you this morning is Yah uses war to chastise his people. He uses oppression. Now, you look at Jeremiah 2, and we're going to make that connection between what Jesus said and what the Word says. Jeremiah said, stay in the land, it is for your life. But he said, stay and then let them take you, is what he said. Let the Babylonians take you into captivity. And some people were saying, let's stay here. Yah's going to protect us. We trust in the temple. So the false prophets were saying, stay in the land. The one true prophet, Jeremiah, was saying, let them take you. Okay? Now the word says, stay in Israel. And then they say, Jesus, go to the mountains. Now, another thing about that 2/3, some of them, it says, they will be taken out and punished with the nations. So I'm trying to make all these connect. There's another part in Jeremiah where it says the times will come. It could have been at that time with Nebuchadnezzar. It could be a prophecy of what is to come, that he will punish the uncircumcised with the circumcised. The people who rebel, no matter where you are, will be punished. Now, Yah is just, and I think that scares Christians. I think that should kind of wake us up. And the reason that I say that is because it should put a fire in us to straighten out our lives. That, I'm telling y'all, and this is what he gives me, you are not waiting for the Messiah. You get your life right now. You are not waiting for the Messiah to come and set everything straight. Because I know what? If you are not prepared now for Messiah to come or Yah to come, whichever one comes first, if you are not prepared now, he's coming to destroy you. And then you don't want to see him. So prepare. This ain't about Messiah. This is about you straightening up your life right now. So, Psalms 91. What if they were faithful? What would Yah have done? Psalms 91, he who dwells in the secret place of the Most High, who abides under the shadow of El Shaddai. He is saying of Yah, my refuge and my stronghold, my Elohim in whom I trust. So there is faith. There's faithfulness, trustworthiness, fidelity. For he delivers you from the snare of the trapper, from the destructive pestilence. He covers you with his feathers, and under his wings you take refuge. His truth is a shield and armor. I love Hezekiah. So you have Hezekiah, and we all know the story about Hezekiah. How, I think it's in Kings. I have it over here somewhere. But it's in Kings where Hezekiah, you have Sennacherib, who is the Assyrian king, and they are coming, and there is word given out that they are going to destroy Jerusalem. And Hezekiah goes into the temple and he lays out the letter and he tells Yah, and he says, this is what they're going to do. He repents, and then Isaiah comes to him and says, pretty much, don't worry. Yah's going to take care of him. So, in that time frame, so you have Israel, the two separate kingdoms. You have Israel and then you have Judah. Israel does not have a long span of reign. You have Solomon, who that promise was given to him that I shall separate these kingdoms and I will give you these kingdoms or these tribes, and they do not have a very long span of life. Now, the Assyrians come during Hosea's time, and they are taking out the 10 tribes. I believe that it's in two separate kings. I can't remember what that first king was. But then you have Sennacherib, who comes in and just wipes them out. Then you have Hezekiah in that time, goes into the temple, prays, and Yah preserves Judah. And after that, you just have the kings of Judah. You have Manasseh, who comes after that. Then you have, I think it's Josiah, and he's the last good king before it all goes crazy. So, there's a timeline. I'm enjoying this. Learning about what actually happened. What are you looking forward to? During that time, Jeremiah, that's when you have the destroying of the temple and you have Nebuchadnezzar coming in. And then they all get taken captive. But Israel didn't have a very long span. And then Judah is preserved, and then Judah comes back to the land. through Zerubbabel. I cannot believe that I remember this stuff. But anyway, so what if they had been preserved? What if they had been faithful? My refuge and my stronghold. What we were going to talk about is Hezekiah, and that part that Hezekiah trusted in Yah, and Yah preserved Judah. He destroyed Sennacherib through his own sons whenever he was bowing down to his false god, and destroyed those armies. It says the angel of Yah came and destroyed those armies. So, Yah preserves his people. Continuing on. Let's do verse 4. He covers you with his feathers, and under his wings you take refuge. His truth is a shield and armor. You are not afraid of the dread by night, or the arrow that flies by day, of the pestilence that walks in darkness, of destruction that ravages at midday. 1,000 fall at your side, and 10,000 at your right hand, but it does not come near you. So they would have been protected. Yah would have protected them if they had trusted. You know why we're looking for David again, or the seed of David, or whatever it says? Some people say that David will be resurrected. Some people say that Moses will be the resurrection. Why we're looking for the seed of David, or David himself, either or. I'm not going to get into that. But it's because of how great of a king or prince that he was. During his time, you had all the tribes together in the land. He owned it. It was his. That's why we're looking for David again. So, 1,000 fall at your side and 10,000 at your hand, but it does not come near you. Only with your eyes you look on and see the reward of the wicked. Because you have made Yah my refuge, and the Most High your dwelling place. So you dwell in the Most High with Yah. No evil befalls you, and a plague does not come near your tent. When you trust in Yah, he will protect you. He is on your side. For he commands his messengers concerning you to guard you in all your ways. So not only are you protected by Yah, but he sends his messengers to protect you. Then you think about Elisha, seeing all the chariots. The army that we have is greater than the army that they have. And all the nations will be gathered against Israel. And then Yah's going to fight that battle for them. And what does he say? And I'm tingling. I'm tingling like in my head right now. He says that I will get honor upon my name. He said everybody's going to know who I am. While he inspires me, you can't just read. You got to study. You can't just skim through the word. You got to have a heart for it. And I tell you, I wasn't there, but I want to know more. I want to know more, because if you don't know, you will not be prepared. You do not know what you are looking for. So read and study and look and see how much that you can learn. And on the other side of that, I might know something you don't know. And you might know something I don't know. So that's why there was a book of remembrance that was written. That those who get together and talk about Yah, that book was written for you, and you are in that book. So, it does not come near you. Yah is your refuge. Plague does not come near you, for he commands his messengers concerning you, verse 11, to guard you in all your ways. They bear you up in their hands, lest you dash your foot against a stone. You tread upon a lion and cobra. Now notice, this is you. You. Okay? Young lion and serpent you trample underfoot. Because he clings to me in love, therefore I deliver him. I exalt him, because he has known my name. When he calls on me, I answer him. I am with him in distress. I deliver him and esteem him. With long life I satisfy him and show him my deliverance. So, trust in Yah. And I'm telling you, and the more that I read it, it's going to be in the land. They are going to gather around Israel. They are going to take 2/3 of them out, whether that is to fight with or to punish. There is not going to be a lot of people left, y'all. And then another thing that makes me scratch my head is if you read after Zephaniah, after that happens, the nations that are left, that's what it says, the nations that are left will be required to come up on the Feast of Tabernacles. I'm pretty sure it's the Feast of Tabernacles. And those who do not come on the Feast of Tabernacles will not receive rain. That makes me think that life is just going to continue as it is. It just makes me scratch my head and puts thoughts in my head. Because there will be some nations who will not come up. And before that, what he says, this will be the plague. So he said there's 2 plagues. The first plague that he's going to destroy the nations with, it says that their eye sockets will melt out of their eyes will melt out of their sockets, and their skin will melt off their bones. That is the first plague. And then it says the second plague to all the nations will be no rain if you don't come up. So that makes me think that life is going to continue as it is. I don't know.
Versus heaven.
Huh? Yeah.
Versus heaven.
Yeah.
Most people make for those out there who don't know.
Exactly. Yeah. Versus heaven. So
people think that we're going to heaven. We're not going to heaven. We're going to
dwell in the land. So there's a lot there. You can learn what's going to happen. You can. You can learn what's going to happen, but you got to read and you got to match them up. And you got to see what's going to happen in this time. And you got to know how Yah works. You got to see what he's done before. What does he use as his tools? He has not changed. So, the Assyrian king, I love that. There is protection in trusting in Yah, as we read through Psalms 91. It says, it will not come to your doors. No plague will come to your tent when you make Yah, you make the Most High your dwelling place. There is protection in trusting Yah. Outside the covenant, there is no protection. The Assyrian king against Hezekiah, it says, the angel of Yah smites the camp. Sennacherib retreats and is killed by his sons in the house of his God. Where was your God at, Sennacherib? Who protected you? Who saved you? The one you trusted in. You came and you said, don't trust in your God. I've killed these other gods and destroyed them. Do you think that your God is going to deliver me out of your hands? Is what Sennacherib said to Hezekiah. And Yah did. And if you look at the timeline, that's when Yah preserved Judah for a period of time. Judges 2. Judges 2, and we'll read through all this. Now, what I want you to get out of this is anytime Yah punished his people, how did he do it? Judges chapter 2. And the messenger of Yah came up from Gilgal to Bochim and said, I led you up from Mitzrayim and brought you to the land of which I swore to your fathers. And I said, do not break my covenant with you. And as for you, do not make a covenant with the inhabitants of this land. Break down their altars, but you have not obeyed my voice. What is this you have done? So he said, don't break my covenant, break down their altars. And he said, now, what have you done? Because you didn't go in, you didn't preserve my covenant, and you didn't break their altars. Therefore, because of that, I also said, I am not driving them out from before you. And they shall be adversaries to you, and their mighty ones shall be a snare to you, because you did not go in and destroy their altars. I am not going to drive them out. And it came to be, when the messenger of Yah spoke these words to all the children of Israel, that the people lifted up their voice and wept. So they called the name of that place Bochim. and slaughtered there to Yahuwah, or Yah. Then Yehoshua dismissed the people, and the children of Israel went each to his own inheritance to possess the land. And the people served Yah all the days of Yehoshua. So that's proof that it is possible. It's not impossible to serve Yah. During Joshua's time, they served. So, and the people served Yah all the days of Yehoshua, and all the days of the elders who outlived Yehoshua, who had seen all the great works of Yah which he had done for Israel. And Yehoshua the son of Nun, the servant of Yah, died 110 years old. And they buried him within the border of his inheritance at Timnah-Heres in the mountains of Ephraim on the north side of Mount Gaash. And all the generation were likewise gathered to their fathers. So all the elders after Joshua were gathered to their fathers, and another generation arose after them who did not know Yah. Now why? I ask my question, why did they not know Yah? Yah says you teach this to your children. And then also, what did he say? Especially. If you teach them anything, he puts emphasis on especially Mount Sinai and what I did for you. So why did they not know? How could a generation come up after these great elders and not know who Yah is? And all the generation were likewise gathered to their fathers, and another generation arose after them who did not know Yah, nor the work which he had done for Israel. Then the children of Israel did evil in the eyes of Yah and served Baals. And forsake Yah, Elohim of their fathers, who brought them out of the land of Mitzrayim, and went after other mighty ones of the people who were all around them, and they bowed down to them and provoked Yah. So they forsook Yah and served Baal and the Ashtaroths. And the displeasure of Yah burned against Israel. Therefore he gave them into the hand of the plunderers who despoiled them. I think I have that displeasure in here. I do not, but anger. The word anger, as soon as we continue on. Yeah, displeasure, anger, same thing. It is off. I think that's off. Nostril, nose, face, anger. It is from rapid breathing. You see those cartoons? Flare the nostrils, heavy breathing, anger. So the displeasure of Yah went against them. It does say to flare the nostrils. It is wrath, displeasure. So does Yah pour out wrath upon his people? Wrath, displeasure, nostril, face, anger from rapid breathing. And the displeasure of Yah burned against Israel. Therefore he gave them into the hands of the plunderers who despoiled them. And he sold them into the hand of their enemies all around. And they were unable to stand before their enemies any longer. Why? Because Yah was not on their side. They rejected him. That's what it said. They forsook Yah, verse 13, and served Baal. Wherever they went out, the hand of Yah was against them for evil, as Yah had spoken, and as Yah had sworn to them, as they were distressed greatly. Now, he's trying to wake them up. When he does this, for a period of time, they wake up. Wherever they went, then Yah raised up rulers who saved them from the hand of those who plundered them. However, they did not listen to their rulers either, but went whoring after other mighty ones and bowed down to them. They soon turned aside from the way, which is Torah. There's only one way. Also in the latter days, it says that, and Yah will be one. And the way that he showed that to me is there will be no other mighty one. There will be one. There will be no question about religion. There will be no question about who is God. He will be here and there will be one. So, they soon turned aside from the way in which their fathers walked, in obeying the commands of Yah, they did not do so. And when Yah raised up rulers for them, Yah was with the ruler and saved them from the hand of their enemies all the days of the ruler. For Yah had compassion on their groaning because of those who oppressed them and crushed them. And it came to be when the ruler was dead that they would turn back to do more corruptly than their fathers, to go after other mighty ones, to serve them and bow down to them. They did not refrain from their practices and from their stubborn way. And the displeasure of Yah burned against Israel, and he said, because this nation has transgressed my covenant that I commanded their fathers and have not obeyed my voice, I also shall no longer drive out before them any of the nations which Jehoshua left when he died, in order to try Israel by them, whether they would guard the way of Yah to walk in them as their fathers guarded them or not. So, it was a test. You are among many other mighty ones. And it is to test you whether or not you love Yah or not. Now, notice, he doesn't make you love him. And there is no reason for you to tempt Yah, because his love has been proven over and over. But your love is tested. To walk in them and their fathers guarded them or not. So Yah left those nations without driving them out at once, and did not give them into the hand of Yehoshua. Now why? It's cause and effect. When they came in, they didn't destroy the altars. They did not listen. How many times did that say that? We did not listen. We didn't do it. We didn't do what he commanded us to do. This is our history. So his anger, that is the history of Israel. What was Yah's tool? Israel's enemies. That is Yah's tool. It is oppression and it is war. Jeremiah 9. We will read through all of this. And then I want to go, this is the last one we have on here, but I think I'm going to go to Zechariah 14 also. So Jeremiah 9. Oh, that my head were waters and my eyes a fountain of tears, and I would weep day and night for the slain of the daughter of my people. Oh, that I had in the wilderness a lodging place for wayfaring men, and I would leave my people and go from them, for they are all adulterers, an assembly of treacherous men. And they bend their tongue like a bow, falsehood and not truth prevails on the earth. For they proceed from evil to evil, and they have not known me, declares Yah. Let everyone beware of his neighbor, and not trust any brother, for every brother catches by the heel, and every neighbor walks with the slanderers. Something else that you will see in those last days, and many times that I've seen it, and I cannot explain it, it says brother will be against brother. So, let everyone be aware. And everyone deceives his neighbor, and no one speaks the truth. They have taught their tongue to speak falsehood, and have wearied themselves to do wickedly. You live in the midst of deceit. Through deceit, they have refused to know me. Through lies, they have refused to know me. I tell you this morning, the New Testament believers have their God. Therefore, thus said Yah of hosts, see, I shall refine them and shall try them, for what shall I do because of the daughter of my people? Their tongue is a slaying arrow, it speaks deceit, speaks peaceably to his neighbor with his mouth, but in his heart he makes his ambush. Would I not punish them for this, declares Yah? Would I not revenge myself on such a nation as this? So, you have Jeremiah's time, and has it already happened? This has happened before. It's going to happen again. Judah should have seen what happened to Israel. Now you have Jeremiah past that, and they didn't take note. Now they're going to get taken captive also by Nebuchadnezzar. I don't remember where I was. Falsehoods, I refine them. Declares Yah, would I not revenge myself on such a nation as this? I shall take up a weeping. And that's, now thank you, Yah. Now it makes sense. Because when you read about it, it talks about Ephraim. It says, Ephraim is a calf, so on and so forth. It talks about it like that. And it talks about how Judah also went out and didn't learn from Israel what happened to Israel. I think that's in, I'm not gonna mess it up. So the best I just don't say anything. But now that makes sense to me. Now that I know what that means. Because they did not learn from what happened to Israel. Judah did not learn from what happened to Israel. I shall take up a weeping and wailing for the mountains and for the pastures of the wilderness and lamentation, because they have been burned up without any passing over. Nor has the voice of cattle been heard. Both the birds of the Shemaim and beasts have fled. They have gone. Nothing. Nothing. And I shall make Jerusalem a heap of ruins, a habitation for jackals, and the cities of Yehudah, I shall make a waste without an inhabitant. So Israel's not even here. This is all Judah. Okay, Israel's gone. They're scattered. Okay, this is Judah, who he's dealing with. He said, I'm going to make Judah an inhabitant for jackals. He is warning them. And I shall make Jerusalem a heap of ruins, a habitation for jackals, and the cities of Yehudah I shall make a waste without an inhabitant. Who is the wise man that he understands this? And to whom has the mouth of Yah spoken that he declares it? Why has the land perished? Has it been burned up like a wilderness with none passing through? And Yah says, because they have forsaken my Torah, which I put before them, it does not change. It has not changed. It's not ever going to change. The people get punished because they leave the one covenant. They have forsaken my Torah, which I put before them, and have not obeyed my voice, nor walked according to it. But they have walked according to the stubbornness of their own heart, and after the Baals, which their fathers had taught them. One of my favorite verses. One of my favorite verses. They adopted what their fathers taught them, and they practiced it as their own. You read in Ezekiel, it's not that Yah was punishing them for their father's sins. He was punishing them because they took up their father's doctrines, and they practiced them. Therefore, thus said Yah of hosts, the Elohim of Israel, see, I am making this people eat wormwood, and I shall make them drink poisoned water. And I shall scatter them among the Gentiles, whom neither they nor their fathers have known, and I shall send a sword after them until I have consumed them. Thus said Yah of hosts, discern, and call for the mourning women, that they come, and send for the wise woman that they come, and let them hasten and take up a wailing for us, and let our eyes run with tears and our eyelids gush with water. For a voice of wailing is heard from Zion, who we have ravaged, or how we have ravaged. We are greatly ashamed because we have forsaken the land, because we have been thrown out of our dwellings. But hear the word of Yah, O women, and let your ear receive the words of his mouth, and teach your daughters wailing, and each one her neighbor a lamentation. For death has come through our windows, and has entered our palaces, cutting off the children from the streets, and the young men from the squares. Speak, thus declares Yah, the corpses of men shall fall as dung on the face of the field, like cuttings after the reaping, with no one to gather them. Thus said Yah, let not the wise boast in wisdom, let not the mighty one boast in might, let not the rich boast in his riches. This has been taken so out of context. What is he saying? When the judgment of Yah comes through the nations, you're not going to be able to buy your way out of it. You're not going to be able to prove yourself. It doesn't matter how wise you are, you can't talk yourself out of it. So don't boast in your strength, don't boast in your wisdom, don't boast in your riches. Because they don't care. They're going to come and they're going to plunder you, and you're going to be destroyed. Let not the wise boast in his wisdom, let not the mighty boast in his might, nor let the rich boast in his riches, but let him who boasts of this, that he understands and knows me. Now what does he say about himself? That I am Yah, doing kindness, right ruling, and righteousness in the earth, for in these I delight, declares Yah. So, even when it's upon his own people, he does righteousness and right ruling. But he shows kindness to the ones who obey him. You ain't going to be able to stand against it. You're not going to be able to outsmart them, and you can't buy your way out. Let him who boasts boast in this, that he knows Yah, because Yah is the one who's going to be able to protect you from the nations. See, the days are coming. So this is where we're going to get into the end of this. The days are coming. I could see it definitely as him talking about the Babylonian captivity is coming. Or is he talking about, does this have a double meaning of what shall happen coming up? See, the days are coming, declares Yah, when I shall punish all the circumcised with the uncircumcised. If you are not obeying Yah, it don't matter. Just because you might be the seed of Abraham, the children of Israel, that's not going to protect you. And you've heard that doctrine your whole life. You can't ride in on your father's coattail. You can't. He is just, and that should wake us up. That should be enough for us to be in awe of him. See, the days are coming, declares Yah, that I shall punish all the circumcised with the uncircumcised. Mizraim and Yehudah and Edom and the children of Ammon and Moab and all those trimmed on the edges who dwell in the wilderness, for all the Gentiles are uncircumcised and all the house of Israel are uncircumcised in heart. They don't want to obey. They're stubborn. So the circumcised and the uncircumcised will be punished for disobedience. Don't worry about Messiah coming. The way that I read that, and I could be wrong, Yah comes first. Yah comes first. It says he's going to, and we're about to read that in Zechariah. It says he sits on the Mount of Olives and he makes a cavern, and then we'll just read it in Zechariah. Don't worry about Mashiach coming. What is that word? Focus? It looks like focus. Don't worry about Mashiach coming. Focus on, are you ready? Nations will be destroyed. And if you're so worried about when Messiah comes and will he make everything right and when is he going to make things right, then I tell you, you are not ready and we will be the ones who will be destroyed. He will come to destroy us. So be ready. Let's read Zechariah 14 and then I'll close out. Give you some insight. See, a day shall come for Yah. In other ones it says the day of the Lord. That's what that says. See, a day shall come for Yah, and your spoil shall be divided in your midst. So everything you have accumulated is going to be gone. And I shall gather all the Gentiles to battle against Jerusalem. And the city shall be taken, the houses plundered, and the women ravished. Half of the city shall go into exile. So it sounds like the same things that have happened before are going to happen again. Okay? So he's going to do the same thing again. Half of the city shall go into exile, but the remnant of the people shall not be cut off from the city. So the people that stay are not going to be cut off. The people that are in there and don't flee to the mountains, that stay in Israel, will not be cut off. But the remnant of the people shall not be cut off from the city. And Yah shall go forth and shall fight against those Gentiles, and as he fights in the day of battle. So the way that I understand that and interpret that, this one says half of the city. Half of the city shall go into exile. One of them says 2/3. I'm not great with fractions. So, but anyway, half the city shall go into exile, however many people that is. But if you look, the way that I interpret that, the people that come out will be the people that are destroyed. He is going to separate the wicked from the good, and they will be destroyed with the nations. And Yah shall go forth, and he shall fight against those Gentiles as he fights in the day of battle. And in that day his feet shall stand upon the Mount of Olives, which faces Jerusalem on the east. So to me, Yah comes first. Yah is going to come. And if you think about it, it is Yah who comes. Yah comes and then he sets up his king. He sets up his anointed one. I'm not saying that's a doctrinal statement, but the way that I read that, and in that day his feet shall stand upon the Mount of Olives, which faces Jerusalem on the east, and the Mount of Olives shall be split in two from east to west, a very great valley, and half the mountain shall move toward the north, and half of it toward the south. And you shall flee in the valley of my mountain, for the valley of the mountains reaches to Atsal. And you shall flee as you fled from the earthquake in the days of Uzziah, sovereign of Yehuda, and Yah, my Elohim, shall come, all the Kodeshim with him. So he's talking about the nations. They shall flee, the way that I understand that. And in the day it shall be, there is no light, there it is dark. And it shall be one day which is known to Yah. So this day will separate out all the other days. This day will be known. Neither day nor night, but at evening time there shall be light. And in that day it shall be that the living waters flow from Jerusalem. Connect that to Ezekiel. Whenever it comes out of the temple. Half them toward the eastern sea and half toward the western sea in the summer as well as in the winter. And Yah shall be sovereign over all the earth. In that day there shall be one Yah, and his name one. So there's not many, there is only one. And all shall be separated. There shall be no more religion. You will have Yah and you will have Torah. And then you read Isaiah 2. Everyone will flow, and everyone wants to know the Torah. Everyone will be responsible for coming up. So, and the land shall be changed into a desert plain from Gibeah to Rimmon, south to Jerusalem, and shall be raised up and inhabited in her place from Benjamin's gate to the place of the first gate and the corner gate, and from the tower of Hananiel to the winepresses of the sovereign. And they shall dwell in her, and there shall be no more utter destruction, but Jerusalem shall be safely inhabited. And this is the plague with which Yah plagues all the people who fought against Israel. Their flesh shall decay while they stand on their feet, and their eyes decay in their sockets, and their tongues decay in their mouths. So that is the curse, the plague, that will be upon the nations that fought against Jerusalem. And it shall be in that day that a great confusion from Yah is among them, and every one of them shall seize the hand of his neighbor, and his hand rise up against his neighbor's hand. So when they're consumed, they're going to fight against each other. They're going to destroy each other. That has happened before. And Yehuda shall fight at Jerusalem as well. And the wealth of the Gentiles round about shall be gathered to them, gold and silver and garments in great quantities. You're going to dwell in the land. And the way that I understand it, life goes on. That's the way that I understand that. So also is this plague of the horse and the mule and the camel and the donkey and on the cattle that are in those camps as this plague. And it shall be that all who are left from all the Gentiles which came up against Jerusalem shall go up from year to year to bow themselves to the sovereign. So Yah is set up, and now anybody who has survived has a requirement to come up. It sounds like life continues. And it shall be, as all those who were left from the Gentiles, the nations, which come up against Jerusalem, shall go up from year to year to bow themselves to the sovereign, Yah of hosts, and to celebrate the festival of Sukkot. And it shall be that if any one of the clans of the earth does not come up to Jerusalem to bow himself to the sovereign, Yah of hosts, on them there is to be no rain. And if the clan of Mitzrayim does not come up and enter in, then there is none. On them is the plague with which Yah plagues the Gentiles who did not come up to celebrate the festival of Sukkot. This is the punishment of Mitzrayim and the punishment of all the Gentiles that do not come up to observe the festival of Sukkot. In that day, Kodesh to Yah shall be engraved on the bells of the horses, and the pots in the house of Yah shall be like the bowls before the altar. And every pot in Jerusalem and Yehuda shall be set apart to Yah of hosts, and all those who slaughter shall come and take them and cook them, and there shall no longer be a merchant in the house of Yah of the hosts in that day. Okay. So, it's just not the way we've been taught. A lot of questions. The more you read, the more questions you have. It's just not the way we have been taught. What we are looking for is the nations to gather against Israel. The very beginning of that, he said, I will gather all the nations, every nation against Israel. So, Israel will be preserved. Yah is going to fight that battle. Some way or another, there's going to be a timeline. I like to believe, that we will be gathered and we will be over there before that time. That everyone who serves, there will be peace in that land. And then Yah does this. And then Yah does that. Because that's what it said at the very end of my page, not the end of the chapter. But there will be peace in Jerusalem. And then this is the plague that will take care of those nations. So, what does Yah use to punish his people? War, confusion, people, mighty kings. He has not changed. That will happen again. But those who are in his covenant and trust his word and who have faith, Psalm 91, you will be protected. He will guard you. I'm not saying that you won't be like Hezekiah and repent and be preserved and be scared because the whole world is against you. Literally. This is not a message about end time prophecy. This is a message describing to you the character of Yah, what he has done, and what he will do. Yah bless you. Baruch Hashem.